Mr. Bone. So now we're gonna go up this like destroyed crane. Swifty got away.
Yeah.
Again, he's named Swifty for a reason.
Yep. Sneaky.
Omron is going to win himself a copy of, let's see, what are we going to give him? Let's give him a PS3 copy of The Darkness 2. He asks, do any enemies possess powers of the darkness?
To some degree, yes. The Brotherhood had control over the darkness for a long time. They had bottled it up using something that I will not disclose, and had kept it for a long time, which gave them some capacity to control kind of dark essence and use darkness powers. So you'll see guys who not only know about how the darkness works, but will use those powers against you. And we should probably stop here, because there's major spoilers if we move forward anymore. We don't want to spoil it for anybody who's watching.
We're at the 1 hour point too.
Oh, well, there we go.
We're about halfway through with the live stream. We could switch into some multiplayer now.
Yeah. We have an invite waiting for us.
Vendettas time. So there's 4 characters in Vendettas we can pick from. I think we talked about on the screen having Inugami. Let's see.
All right, well, we get into the multiplayer portion here. We've got more questions. This comes from Aaron. Can you use a human as a shield like you can the car door?
Sure. I mean, it's not as effective.
Yeah, I mean, you can pretty much pick up anything and it will, in theory, take bullets on the chin. But
yeah, the some things you'll hold in front of you, and some things you kind of, like anything that's javelin-like, the demon arm kind of holds it up like a javelin, so that's not going to take any bullets for you. But bodies kind of dangle in front of you, so they'll take some bullets for you. The car doors, the signs, the big metal sheets that you'll find throughout the game, those are more effective. There's even a darkness talent that you can get. It's a type of execution that after you execute somebody with this execution, you kind of use their corpse to generate a darkness shield. So you get this sort of dark essence looking bone shield that you can use.
So we're going to see Vendettas mode here.
You can go ahead and, so we should probably join the same game that they're in as well.
And this is the 4-player cooperative mode.
Yes.
With a separate campaign.
And we're going to hop into the beginning of the campaign. If you remember from the time when we were in the mansion and had Vinny say, send the new guys to go get Johnny Powell. Well, you are one of the new guys, and you're here going to get Johnny Powell. So that is mission 1.
So you don't have darkness powers in this mode?
Well, you do. Each one of the characters represents a different, sort of like a different section of Jackie's powers. They all have darkness-infused weapons. They all have sort of a history with the darkness, and kind of the idea is that the enemy of my enemy is my friend. So they're all working against, the Brotherhood's working against them is how I should put it. And so they came and found Jackie because this is sort of like this is where all of the action is happening. And so they're here with Jackie with their light darkness powers, their darkness-infused weapons, kind of.
Each of them has their own unique darkness powers too. I mean, one girl uses a gun, another uses an axe, another uses a sword, and then I like the kind of voodoo-oriented guy as well.
JP's cool.
So here we see the characters. We're gonna play as Inugami.
He has the Kusanagi. The Kusanagi is it's a over 1,000-year-old sword that was thought to be lost. And his family is from it's a fishing family, and they dredged up the sword one day. It was thought to be lost it was owned by one of the emperors of Japan and was lost in a shipwreck. But they dredged it up in the net. And one of the side effects of possessing the sword, the Kusanagi, is that you need to destroy one evil soul every day. Every day that you miss, you lose a day from your life. So they were like, okay, I guess we're assassins now. And without giving away kind of too much of his, and you learn about them as you play the game. Like you have, it's 97. It's early days of cell phones. You'll have some cell phone conversations back and forth while you're proceeding through levels, so that we don't stop the gameplay. but you'll learn more about each one of these guys just from how they interact with the world. But the Kusanagi is now inside of Inugami's possession, and he needs to kill an evil man every day, or an evil soul every day.
One of the cool things too is as everyone selected their characters, they actually assumed the perspective of him. So right then we went from seeing the whole table to actually seeing through his eyes, looking at everyone else. So now we're launching into, I believe, the newsroom campaign level.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Viewers, remember, you can tweet your questions at IGN. Use hashtag Darkness2. That also enters you to win a copy of the game, just like Trevor did just now. He asks, can you customize the characters in Vendettas?
Yeah, you're going to see a talent tree in Vendettas that we can unlock. Well, here's a...
Yeah, sure, we can take a look at it.
Hop right in there.
I don't know if I unlocked anything with him.
And you've got very little essence because you just started.
Yeah.
But they all have their own talent trees that you can go down.
They're smaller, but they're specifically focused around the fact that they don't have things like demon arms and stuff like that. So, and each character has one default darkness power right off the bat. In this case, his is Swarm. So that's good for him because he needs to close the gap to use that sword, so he can kind of stun them temporarily and then sword them.
And then slice them up.
And a lot of their powers work in conjunction with one another. I really like the executions of
Shoshana?
JP.
Yeah. Oh, right. Lift them up in the air using the midnight stick.
And he twists them at the waist, like in the air. They just twist. It's very brutal.
There we go.
There we go.
There, that execution. He kind of twists the staff to twist the dudes.
Yeah.
And you can see this, so we're fighting Brotherhood here, and we're starting kind of, this level is not a beginning level, so, another death.
No, but it's like you said, it's cooler looking level. Like
totally.
It goes through a lot of
cool
really
stuff.
different parts. And
well, you can see them using flashbangs there, and when a flashbang is used against a wielder of the darkness, it's really, really bad. Like, those aren't, me personally, a flashbang is not my favorite grenade to get in most shooters.
yeah.
But for the darkness, like, they're really scary when someone has one.
And so we are seeing some Brotherhood guys out here. You can tell. See, they have a little bit of dark essence going on, which gives them actually they're a little bit more resilient too.
Yeah, they've got that armor that you can shoot off as you attack them, so they're not one-hit kills.
See, there are lights that are invincible, but you can usually track. There's a yellow cable that you can often follow. Find that, take it out.
Nathan Miller is wondering if the Vendetta characters are made specifically for the game, or are they from the comic?
They're for the game. They were actually one of the interesting things that we got to do when we decided, 4-player co-op. It was like, guys, Paul Jenkins was the writer for a bunch of the comics, writer for the first game, writer for the second game. Him along with a bunch of our narrative guys at Digital Streams. It was like 4 new heroes, 4 new characters. They have to fit in the Darkness universe, otherwise, carte blanche. Make anyone you think would be cool. And so we got back from, really early on, we got back from Paul like a 9-page outline of the history of each one of these guys and, turned that into what their gameplay would be, running into the light.
They do talk about their background a little bit as you progress through the campaign as well.
Well, it's we didn't feel like we had to, there's no quiz at the end, but if we knew who they were and why they were awesome, then it would inform all of the decisions we would make about them. So we don't necessarily have to tell everybody their history as we go.
Matt Greer is wondering if there are 2-person execution or combos in the co-op mode.
No, there's not, but that's a really excellent idea.
Write that one down.
I know, totally noted.
Thanks for your free design tips.
Yeah, more of those, please.
So each campaign mission generally revolves around, taking out maybe a bad guy that is somebody that Jackie doesn't deal with directly, but is, like maybe a big player in the Brotherhood, or maybe sometimes it is someone that's just making Jackie look bad, and they gotta die.
Yep. Not a hero, more of an anti-hero.
Yeah.
And the 2 ways that there's somebody. The 2 ways that Vendettas is broken up is campaign and hit list. Campaign is the linear narrative, which happens at the same time as a single-player campaign, and hit list is just a bunch of dudes who've got to die, and you do a couple of missions until you get to that guy. So this is the first mission in the Newswatch 6 hit list campaign. I think.
I think so too. I can't remember exactly.
No, yeah, it's the first one.
And you see, like, you know, on top of, there are certain skills that are only available in upgrades for the multiplayer.
Yeah.
Because of the fact that they expect you to be playing with other ones. So, you know, you can be really selfish and constantly upgrade powers that give you the ability to be especially aggressive. But there are also ones, such as what JP has, that gives it like an area of effect buff. So he's actually buffing his teammates when they're close to him.
And everybody has an area of effect that they can get, which kind of helps give you incentive to be around your fellow Vendettas characters.
And they can still get things like longer clips if they're in the dark. You know, it automatically extends the clip. And a big one for all of them is they almost all have the ability to get some sort of invincibility from slaying people. Like, they really want you to use executions and get hearts. And Jackie, you know, sucks the hearts out by using the demon arm. These guys are all just brutal, stab it, rip it apart with their weapon.
It's destroy heart, not eat heart.
Yeah, they just mangle it.
But, you know, you've got a samurai sword. You can slice somebody in half.
See, that's still my favorite.
Shoshana's is good, too. It's one that we could never... people get really sensitive about putting a shotgun into somebody's mouth and then pulling the trigger as the execution, so we can't show it very frequently. But
Yeah.
this is awesome.
Well, I mean, to me, it's no more brutal than, you know, rending somebody in half with a sword, but...
Julian, let's see here. Julian wins a copy of the game for his question, how many missions are there in Vendettas?
Let's see, for hit list, there's, I think, 6 different dudes who have to die, and each of them has 3 missions.
Yeah, I want to say it's something like 20-something.
And then there's a bunch that are in the campaign that aren't in hit list.
Yeah.
So it's maybe mid-20s.
Yeah, I mean, if you wanted to play through it all, it's fairly lengthy, and some of them range. Some of them are you can knock out in like 15 minutes, and then some are well over a half hour, like depending on how your team's doing, and depending on how many people you're playing with. Like, obviously, they're rolling with 4 people. They are a wrecking crew.
Yeah, you were going to fly through with 4. Like, and that's kind of as designed. Like, we wanted to make you feel even more powerful the more people that you added into the mix. So
yeah, but if you're by yourself, by yourself it's quite hard.
Yeah.
It's an option, but it's hard. That's for someone who really wants a challenge.
Well, yeah, we support co-op where you play with friends. We also support people who have no friends, so you can play either way. And you see that somebody's down and can be healed. You might already be healed up.
Yeah.
There you go. You know, like a lot of other co-op games, if you know, when you get to 0 health, essentially, you're prone for a little while, and somebody else can come and help heal you, as long as you're not in the light.
Righteous Squirrel is wondering if you can...
That's a really good name.
Yes.
He's wondering if you can dual wield melee weapons.
I don't think there's no character that has
Just
that.
the demon arms.
Yeah. All these characters are very much more gun focused.
Yeah,
But
the melee weapons each of them has is specific to them.
it feels kind of intentional. I mean, Jackie is the most powerful darkness user in the world. These people have powers, but they're not Jackie. So.
You can also see, like, looking at the way that these chatters are going, that's like a helicopter on the roof with a searchlight. One of the things that was really important to us, it's light and dark combat, right? So you need to be able to have dynamic lights all over the place that affect gameplay. So the helicopter with the light on it is one, but also you get like shoulder-mounted light cannons on dudes. Oh. There's the fish.
No, these fish are going down.
That's cool. The fish. So like one of the things that you'll see in this engine is dynamic lights that cast shadows that affect gameplay, and it's it was one of the things that we knew we had to get right, that the Evolution engine, which is Digital Extreme's engine, lets us do.
Yeah, the light is very striking, kind of blinding.
Yeah.
It is not nice.
When the light dudes show up, they're just the first ones I kill. I get so
yeah, you can't help but
mad.
focus on them just because it's so obstruction. It's such a big obstruction.
They don't do any damage to you, right? Like
yeah.
Well,
in theory, they keep you from regenning, so it's a pretty significant barrier.
John is wondering, does co-op have matchmaking, or do you have to play with people on your friends list?
We've got matchmaking. You do quick match.
Yeah.
or you can play with people on your friends list. We support both. But see, this guy here with the shield, if you're playing with just you, it's hard to get past the riot shield, but they flanked him.
Yeah,
somebody
one
could shoot
person
from
was
behind the
taking it in
shield.
the face while the other person hit him from behind.
Yes.
How it should be done.
Pegleg Smitty wins a PlayStation 3 copy and asks, are there current plans for downloadable content after The Darkness 2 launches?
Oh, we will be able to talk about such things.
I mean, it seems like,
Fairly
I will
soon,
say,
but-
it sure seems like there is, since there's an option for it right in the menu of the game.
But as per our way, we speak about such things only after ship.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, it wouldn't surprise, I'm not saying I know anything, I know nothing. But I'm just saying it would not surprise me at all to, learn about, more Vendetta missions or something like that.
Well, one
I
of
mean,
the
they seem
things-
kind of obvious.
true. One of the things that I think people, there's this sort of a vibe against DLC right now, and the vibe against it, I think, comes from why did you finish the game and then take half of it out to sell it to us again later?
Yeah, this seems to be what they assume.
This is totally not the case. This is a full game. We've given you everything that we've made. It is start to finish. The story completes in a way that I will not tell you anything about, but is awesome. There's a beginning and middle ends to the single player, beginning, middle, and ends to Vendettas, and nothing was kind of held back. So the thing that people get nervous about, DLC, don't get nervous here. This is giving you the whole thing.
Jared has a good question. I think you alluded to this earlier. He says, when you submitted the game to the ESRB, were there any kills you had to remove?
Well, it's not just the ESRB. There's ratings boards all around the world.
Yeah.
And everybody has their own thing that they get nervous about. Surprisingly, we've gotten through in a lot of places that I totally expected a lot of back and forth about. And it went through U.S. audiences. You were getting everything that we wanted to give you.
Yeah, I was going to say, I feel like the ESRB has to be one of the easier ones to work with in
ESRB
the
is
scheme of
easy.
things. Yeah.
Not just because there's somebody that you can kind of talk to and say, is this too much?
Yeah, well, and I also just feel like American audiences are much more, I don't know, we're easier on violence.
American audiences are easier on violence.
Harder on sex.
You add boobs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Immediately, it's concerning to U.S. ratings, to nowhere else.
Whereas
in the world.
it's like the exact opposite in say
Right.
Germany,
Right.
where it's like, sex, whatever, but,
Yeah.
rip a guy's arm off. Well, we got to talk.
Yeah, totally. But
Oh,
no, yeah, we really didn't have to. Yeah, flashbangs are horrible. But we really didn't have to reel back too much. I think for the U.S. ratings, and this is totally conjecture, but taking it a little bit away from full realistic realism was we did that not for any reason other than it gives you sort of there's a joy to the violence, right? When you twist somebody in half and the body parts go flying and there's excessive amounts of blood, it's so big and fun.
It feels very comic booky in
Right.
that sort of sense, and I think the art style actually helps make the violence a little bit more palatable. If it still looked like it did in the first game had a very realistic look. Like this,
Yeah.
It kind of feels like I'm watching an anime or something, like an adult cartoon.
Yeah, but that was totally the goal, and I think that helped us in some ratings boards, just sort of as a fortuitous 2-for-1. Not only did it give us what we wanted from a gameplay standpoint, but also the it didn't tweak the people who hated violence as much.
Jeff asks, how long are the co-op missions?
Well, we've been in this one for 15 minutes, so
Yeah. You can do some of them can be 10 minutes, some of them can be 45.
And again, it also depends on how many people are playing with you. 4 people on the difficulty that we're playing on, which I think is the default. They're a wrecking crew.
They're totally flying
But
through
if
this.
you play on 4 people that are really good on the harder difficulty, it's a little bit slower pace.
And when you're playing a single, the vibe of them are different. When you're playing a single player game, you want to get into the story, you want to understand what's going on in the world. You're going to sit on the sofa with the girlfriend. I'm referencing Darkness 1, and press X to kiss. That is totally cool in a single player game. In co-op, you totally do not want to be over voice chat being dude, press X to kiss. That is not the point. The point is immediately into combat, nothing holding you back from wreaking havoc. Just grab a soda or a beer if you are of legal age to do so. Plop down on the sofa and kill some dudes.
Yeah, and we were talking earlier about whether there's a competitive element. There's totally a competitive element in the sense that as soon as a guy appears, everyone just like swarms him to see how fast they can mangle him, because only one person is going to get the essence. That is the end. So, but all the missions are replayable. So,
viewers, if you have questions about The Darkness 2, tweet them at IGN with hashtag Darkness2. We have Seth Olszewski here, producer from the game. We also have Anthony Gallegos here. He's already beaten the game. His review will go up tomorrow. So anything your little heart desires that you want to know about Darkness 2, we can provide to you right now. Let's see. Let's give an Xbox copy to Blaze, who asks, without spoilers, are there hints towards a third game, or would it make sense to leave the story with this one?
I think you make every story, if you want to make it good, it needs to, you need to have the setup, the meat, and the conclusion, the beginning, the middle, and the end. And so, we certainly didn't, I think that we've created a world that is really interesting, just like the first game created a world that was really interesting, like the comics have created a world that's really interesting. But we didn't, give you half of a story and say, hey, tune in next time. It was a full thought.
I feel like the way that any good game franchise should aspire to do it is like The Empire Strikes Back. The story concludes, but it's like you walk out of a viewing or playing it and you're satisfied. But the idea that it could continue is not outrageous.
Right. The world did not blow up.
I mean, as a game company, what game company would want to just preclude a franchise from continuing? You know what I mean? So
we just concluded a co-op mission. That took 20 minutes.
Yeah, so I mean, and
4 people.
Exactly, and you get these silly little awards at the end. That we got hippie, shot the least amount of times, and obsessive. That's one I get all the time. Reload constantly. Too much Call of Duty. I shoot one bullet.
I know. I'm playing the exact same way.
So
I'm constantly reloading. Yeah.
We can just do at this point. I don't know.
Do you want to do the campaign? Maybe we could show how the campaign kicks off.
Yeah, sure. Let me just. Let's start.
How are we doing on time? Because we could get.
Yeah, we've got 40 minutes left, so we're good.
Okay, we can get through a mission or two of the campaign.
Okay.
Yeah, you can one of them, we recorded all of these actors at the same time, so all of their dialogue is actually dialogue. A lot of times
playing off each other?
They're actually playing off each other. We chucked them all in a room with their own mics, and they could just, inhabit their characters. So if you just sit around the poker table, they say really ignorant things. It's really kind of fun to listen through, because they're, we do not shy away from adult themes or potty mouth.
I don't either.
Well, I mean, these are not.
There's
these
definitely
are
potty mouth.
These are, these are kind of shady characters.
They're totally shady characters.
So I mean, they're gonna have shady character conversations.
Shady character conversations. Shady character flirting. 4-letter words that make you blush. And it's sort of funny, and it's kind of push back and forth.
While we get our next game set up here, Ace Jack Films asks, how crushing is the hardest difficulty? Have you tried it yet, Anthony?
I have not.
The hardest difficulty for Vendettas is super crushing. It's crushing. And you've got, it's a lot easier to make something easier than it is to make something harder. So the Digital Extremes guys really just ramped up the difficulty to an extreme, and then we kind of toned it down there for normal humans. But the highest level of difficulty would totally not be a normal human level of difficulty. Single player or Vendettas, but Vendettas, because there's so many dudes in the world, and you don't have the well-roundedness that Jackie has as a combatant, you are in for it.
Mitchell asks, is there a level system in co-op that lets you know if you are ranked with someone of your level?
There's not. Because it's co-op, it shouldn't be too big of a deal. We didn't want how much you played to be a barrier to playing with your friends. So you could have beat the game 7 times, have all the characters and Vendettas maxed out, and still tell one of your buddies to buy a copy, and then you can play, and he'll still be helpful. So it's not just the default power of the weapons and power of the darkness-infused weapons that the characters have. That's my Inugami slashing action.
So this is how
that's enough.
This is how the story is delivered in the campaign missions.
Like in the menu?
Yeah, Vinny's guy right now. Well, you select campaign, you go in, and Vinny's guy now is, Jackie's guy, Vinny is telling you, you're gonna go get Johnny Powell. He sits out here in this, in this area, and you got to go get him.
Oh, that's cool. 'Cause that just fills in some of the gaps in the story that you miss.
Yeah.
When you're playing as Jackie. That's
Cool. So they tell you, Johnny got picked up by a crew, and they're holding him hostage. So they're gonna send in you guys to go save Johnny. And by save Johnny, you're kind of mean to Johnny. Throughout the course of the game, I feel like you're kind of nice to him, but you're also,
Yeah.
And that's the thing about Jackie. Jackie is, for all the things he's good about him, he cares about his family, but anyone else, they are a means to an end,
Yeah.
Sure thing, pal.
And this is definitely how maybe that's why Johnny left to begin with.
Yeah, I can't imagine he was treated especially well, so.
Yeah. Well, he's also, I would imagine he'd be a little annoying to have in the house all the time.
Yeah,
he's sort of a motor mouth.
He's kind of like living with the drug addicts,
Yeah.
So.
Complete with the, the facial sores.
So now we're playing as, spacing out his name, the Scotsman.
Jimmy Wilson.
Jimmy Wilson. Yeah,
I
I like his weapon because you can still melee with the shoulder button, but then you can also throw that axe. You get a free ranged attack, and it's so cool when you hit someone with it and then yank it back out, and it blasts them. It really kills them as you pull back.
Yep, because the throw is one tap, and then the retrieve is another.
There are even times that if you time it right, you can miss with it, and then wait till they step in front of the return path, return it, and it'll knock them onto their face.
Super helpful for the big shield guys.
Yeah.
You can throw it past them and then get them on the way back. You also see here, again, the game is set in 1997. They're using the advanced technology of cell phones to kind of, give mission briefings while you're in the mission. That is one of the things that we did in Vendettas actively, so that you wouldn't ever have oh, here's little Jimmy's.
Yeah.
Get him, little Jimmy's.
This character I actually have upgraded quite a bit. So you'll see he has certain powers, like the ability to summon 3 Darklings at once.
Yeah. I love the outfit that they have on too. They do look like a little version of him. And there's the black hole, which is
The black hole is such a cool power.
Yeah.
Matt is wondering if there is not so friendly fire.
There's no friendly fire. It's chaos enough.
Yeah.
That you're not gonna. I don't think anyone would survive.
I think it's tough because in a game where there's both melee and ranged combat, and there's such big parts of it, when everyone's running in to try and get so close, you would just constantly be shooting your own teammates.
How true. Oh, a miss.
Oh no, you got him on the way back though.
Nice.
So.
Austin is wondering, do you see any of the Vendettas characters in the single player, or vice versa? Do you see Jackie in co-op?
You will see both. It's not there because of the way that the stories for these 2 campaigns pan out. Most of the time in the narrative, they happened to be in different places, so you're not going to see them overlap very much. But in times when they are in the same place, you'll be able to see one from the other. It was something that we didn't want to shy away from, but then each story got so good on its own. And when the story of the Vendettas guys is that they're kind of helping Jackie by doing something that Jackie can't do because he's doing something else, that necessarily means that they're in different places. But it's a parallel narrative, it's happening at the same time that the single player is happening. Right now, I guess Jackie would be in the poker warehouse.
Yeah. Yeah. The last mission we played of the campaign.
Right.
We talked a little bit about the soundtrack earlier.
And down.
Cody says, one of my favorite things in The Darkness was the soundtrack. Will the music in Darkness 2 be similar?
We have kind of 2 angles of music in The Darkness 2. We've got the the score, which was composed by Tim Wynn and recorded in Prague. We got a full orchestra to record the cinematic score, and it's awesome. We're hitting a different narrative vibe than the first game, so the vibe of it is different. The quality of it is
Yeah, I like I said, the licensed music is used at the right times to like set certain moods and make scenes feel a little bit more believable. I feel like the licensed music, specifically when it's used in scenes with Jenny, is top. It's really good.
Yeah, it was fun finding licensed music that was around in this time period.
Not to mention the fact that in at least one instance I can think of, the characters reference the music too. So they might even have voice dialogue that kind of corresponds with it if you pay attention.
Yeah.
So
We wrote so much this game. There's a lot of words that got recorded, as you will see.
Our final PlayStation 3 copy of The Darkness II goes to Ryan Smith, who asks, will we get to visit or see any big New York City landmarks?
We just ran under the Brooklyn Bridge earlier. There's another landmark in that no one called out, but was interesting. I won't call out, we'll see if anybody noticed it. But there's definitely New York City landmarks that you'll be able to see from where you're at, and that you'll be able to...
I mean, for me as someone that's not in the city, like the subways are always like such an iconic part of New York City. So you definitely see the return of those a lot.
Yeah, we definitely wanted to go back to the subway as a combat area instead of a narrative area. So that was core and early.
Yeah, well, you know, in the first game, Jackie was just a mafia hitman, so he took the subway. Now, it is no longer befitting of Jackie to take the subway to get to places.
He'll take the subway when he's going to kill someone in the subway. This is, you see here, this is another kind of way that we communicate, like Homebase communicates with the Vendettas guys is over closed circuit TV. So we saved Johnny, and Johnny sends them on.
And I think if you go in Jackie's office, you can see this TV.
Yeah.
I think, yeah. So you actually see the TV that he's speaking into.
Yeah, this is his office. This is where we talked to Jimmy the Great earlier in single player. So I mean, and this is like. It's not a facade, it's actually his office. It's how we, you know, if we never take you out of the eyes of the player, then you'll actually feel like you are that guy. And that was one of the things that we wanted to be strict on. It's always first person.
Got about a half hour left in the live stream here, a half hour left to get your questions answered. Tweet them at IGN with hashtag Darkness2, and we still have a couple copies of the game left to give away. Donald is wondering, Seth, can you discuss the range of environments you will be seeing over the course of the game?
Without giving anything away, that's kind of tough. I'll say.
I want to point out the fact, actually, you just remember, so you talked about other New York City landmarks. Obviously, one that is dear to most American fans, you know, this is 1997, so the Twin Towers are still there.
They're still there.
Yeah.
So we didn't want to shy away from putting them there. It's, you know, we did our New York research.
Yeah.
This is where they would be from where we decided to place you for this mission.
So sorry, to go back to his question about other environments.
That's why I didn't want to shout it out. I was to see if anybody noticed. We even released screenshots of them. No one noticed that they were there. So, but, you know, maybe people noticed and then didn't tell us they saw it. But where will you go? You definitely are not in New York through the whole game. I don't want to reveal too much of other places you'll go because it'll be giving away plot. But you will definitely explore places both natural and supernatural.
Yeah, but I mean, a lot of the game takes place in New York, and there's nothing wrong with that because this is Jackie's. I mean, this is his turf.
Yeah.
You know, and a lot of the game revolves around Jackie fighting someone in New York.
Yep.
So.
Seth, Michael is wondering, what is the Darkness 2 multiplayer's hardest achievement? You know what that would be?
Oh man.
Hardest.
I actually don't know either. I mean, I would say one of the hardest achievements in the game is actually that 2 guys one pull one.
Yeah. That is a hard one to pull off.
And there are a couple of secret achievements too. So.
The secret ones aren't as, I mean, like they show up when you get them, but they're not necessarily the hardest ones to do. I think that you know, the achievement. I think the achievement guys will have a harder time on single player than they will on.
Yeah, I will say I think the hardest achievement in the game, in my opinion, to get is right in that early part that we showed at the beginning when Jackie's being dragged. There's an achievement for like killing 25 people during that sequence.
Oh, wow.
Oh, yeah,
that is extremely difficult because while you're being dragged, your camera is getting shaken about. So. It's very hard. I've tried it, have not succeeded yet.
Yeah, you've got to get them before you move on to the next section.
Exactly. So.
Oh, what do we got? Ooh, carbine. I like this gun. I mean, I like all the guns. All the guns serve their purpose, but when, you get far enough along that you get one of these.
Yeah, it's funny because when I was playing single player, a lot of times I wouldn't use two-handed weapons because I wanted to just have all four out, the quad wielding thing. But in this, I found I actually did play a lot of this like a shooter, much more aggressively. Use a two-handed weapon, get up close, do an execution.
Yeah, yeah. It depends on how many people you've got with you. I found if I'm soloing through Vendettas, I need to have my weapon out a lot because people get into range a lot.
Right.
But if there's a bunch of dudes, then you can get them from afar. Or if there's a bunch of players, I should say.
Seth Jonathan Aaron says he loves the art direction in the game. Will there be an art book released alongside?
Not as part of the special edition.
I was just thinking, if you want to see some game art or some art, Darkness art, you could always just go buy the most recent issue of the Darkness
which
comic
might be
book.
100. Yeah, it's the the art style's been a little. I think it's controversial until you actually play it. But when you play it, you get why the art style is perfect.
What would you say kind of made it controversial?
I think that some people are still in the headspace of like, well, more realistic is more good, so make it more realistic.
More good.
And that's a safe space that in kind of a default idea about what's good that we kind of abandoned.
It is a little bit of jarring because it is such a departure from the original.
Right.
Right.
And the people who love the original, they should. It's an awesome game. Play this before you.
I think there are reasons to like
concerned.
both for different reasons, and some similar reasons, but
So I love watching the Darkness run around and explode on people. You summon a little Jimmy. It's fun.
Speaking of explosions, Hyphen asks, will there be explosive weapons in the game?
Yes. The corpses of your enemies, after you buy the explosion, explodes on throw talent.
And I'm pretty sure Jackie can actually get a Darkness ability that makes his bullets slightly explosive, I think.
There's also H2O canisters you can pick up.
Yeah,
you can pick up things and throw that explode. There's lots. You won't be lacking for explosions.
And ultimately, Jackie doesn't really need much help dismembering people with explosives because he can just do it himself. He just rips them limb from limb.
Yeah, if you explode somebody, there might not be any heart left to eat.
Adonis Guerra is asking, will Jackie be able to fly at some point in the game with darkness wings? Is that something from the comic?
I think there are wings in the comics. So I'll admit, I'm not super familiar with comics. I've kind of looked at some of them, but I don't know. You want that's a question for you. I feel I don't want to.
No, we're not. Jackie will not fly in the single player campaign. That is. I know that's a specific answer to a general question, but that's what you.
Yeah, it wasn't even something I ever thought of. So.
Jason Martinez asks, in co-op, does the mission fail if your co-op partner dies?
No, you can complete it still. When they're bleeding out, you can revive them. So.
Yeah, you all have to go down for it to be like
the
mission
end.
over.
So that second mission was about 18 minutes long, looks like.
Yeah, so and I forget how many missions there are in the single player campaign, but they do get progressively more difficult too, like a campaign would,
And they kind of get, in the single player campaign, the missions also get longer.
Sam has been enjoying the voice acting. He asks how many different voice actors are in the game.
A lot. A lot.
The credits are pretty lengthy.
Yeah.
But a lot of the cast members, just to kind of twist his question a little bit, they're returning members. Like it's the same guy who voiced Jackie from the first game to the second game.
Actually, no, we have a new Jackie voice.
Well, he does a very convincing job of hitting the exact same voice.
Well, it's Brian Bloom, and he's fantastic. He's also he's an actor and he's a writer. So, and he's from, he grew up in Brooklyn, so he can do the accent without trying, which is excellent. Because the second somebody tries to put on a New York accent, it's just not good.
Yeah.
But you know, he was good and emotive. Without sounding kind of wimpy. So he was.
Nice.
Oh, nice return.
Got him with the axe on the way back.
Well done. But you know, Brian was excellent. So some of the cast got recast. Some of the cast is bad. But it's a pretty thick cast list, and we've got some nitpicky people doing the voice acting, and we can tell when it's the same actor redoing multiple voices, and then kind of get a little frustrated, and then hire somebody new. So there's a lot of people who are in our voice cast.
I never felt like I throughout when I was playing, I never felt like, oh, this is obviously guy X doing 4 voices. You know, I felt like they all felt pretty distinct.
John Collins is asking, what happens to the darkness when the host dies?
It revives the host. I mean, the darkness is eternal, right? So
the darkness can be trapped, but I don't think it can be destroyed. It's about as good as it gets.
Yep. But the darkness can revive the host, and that's what he does every time you die. It's actually the darkness reviving you.
And you learn through the game that the darkness gets passed on generation to generation. So like Jackie's great-great-great-grandfather possessed the darkness at one point.
Yeah, in the first game you go back to one of his ancestors.
Yeah.
And kind of meet him.
That's a really cool part of that game.
See, here's a little bit of Swarm. You can see, it sounds a little. That was the green kind of devil smoke around those guys. It sounds not like it's the most interesting. This immobilizes a few characters for a few seconds, but if they have a light cannon or if they're using a shield, immobilizing them for a few seconds is exactly what you need.
And in single player, it stuns them so Jackie can do an execution on them.
Yeah,
which is extremely useful. So in this mission, this is kind of taking place kind of concurrently with when Jackie's. This is like the post-Swifty mission, I believe.
Mm-hmm. The brothel. Which is we've talked publicly about the brothel level before, so it's okay for us to say.
And you do interact with characters from Jackie's crew. Like in this one, you're meeting up with Dolfo, who's kind of this kind of putz that he has in his squad.
A putz who likes explosives.
Yeah, I mean he's a funny guy, but he seems like he's definitely kind of one of Jackie's. He's kind of a scrope, but he's useful. He's a useful scrope.
A scrope who likes guns and explosions.
Marvin wants to know, in the game lobby, can you actually play poker?
No, wouldn't that be awesome? No, you can't.
Yeah, I think it's a cool looking lobby, but it is still just a lobby.
Yeah. The minute you're like, and then we'll add gambling to the game. Like, when is it too much? When is it too much? I don't know. Actually, the fact that it has a poker table at all did mean that in our ratings boards, they give it that encourages gambling descriptor. We've got so many descriptors.
Well, man, this game practically encourages everything. It has gambling.
Encourages dismemberment.
And there's people swearing. This is very much for mature audiences.
Yes. Yeah. What I think we really pushed was the swearing, the language is really a lot, and I think that you'll I don't know, it feels like a movie.
It is.
And when you hear the language that people will use, they will make you a little uncomfortable when you're watching a movie. In a game, somehow it's even more.
Yeah, the thing about it, though, is that, there are games for instance, to go back to Bulletstorm, that game uses swearing, but it's obviously doing it, in a super tongue-in-cheek way. When these guys swear, I feel like it's kind of because you're working with a bunch of mobsters and people that work for the mob, and they're bad characters, and if you've ever hung out with anybody that's kind of shady, I mean, every other word out of their mouth is, a swear word, so it doesn't feel forced, is I guess what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
It feels kind of natural.
Well, he's the Don of the Mafia who has control over an ancient force of chaos. Not nice people doing nice things. The game wanted potty mouth. The game wanted violence. At a point in time when we were talking about potentially censoring some stuff, we tried to figure out if we could make nicer executions, and the animators got all mad. And they were like, well, here's one where the demon arm just kisses him on the cheek and then he just dies. And we're like, fine, it's a stupid idea. We really couldn't. Any time when it was like, it might be a good business decision to reel back, it didn't work, so we just didn't do it.
Right.
So it is one of the quotes that has been used is that none of it is half-ass. It is all whole-ass.
Let's give a PC copy of The Darkness 2 to Mark Clevenger, who asks, were there any cross-platform development issues?
Actually, no. Which is really surprising because there always are. The Evolution engine, which is the Digital Extremes engine, which they built the game on, it like every hour it just builds for all 3 platforms, and then you have a new build. Like it's actually really
Cool.
slick.
Their website even advertises the fact that like they have this engine that works great on all current gen systems.
And it's not bullshit. It works great on all current gen systems. I guess kill him more. But it really was just not a problem. Like, and everybody in the offices in 2K and in Digital Extremes, some people are on PC, some people are on 360, some people are on PS3. It's just all spread out. It doesn't really matter what one you go to. You're getting the same game. Now, sure, there's maybe like an edge casey bug we would have to fix for one platform over the other, but it's been smoothly running on all 3 platforms for at least 2 years.
So how long has this game been in development?
We've been in we're approaching 3 now, with a really hefty pre-production.
Sure.
Which pre-production, for those who don't know, it's a time when you have a really small team and you kind of figure out what you want to make.
Story-wise and what you want the narrative to be, and maybe like some core gameplay features that you would like to kind of make as the hook.
Yep. We had quad wielding in pre-production and futzed around with it in pre-production until we felt like it was right, and then when it was right, we could build levels based on it.
Is that weird?
Zach is wondering, will there be mod support for Darkness 2 on PC?
Not at launch.
Confirms what I was worried about.
You will play the games we have made at launch.
Like some kind of curse.
John Trussell asks, whose idea was it to make the controller vibrate when Jackie talks? It's awesome.
Yeah, that is such a subtle feature that I think actually like it reminds you that you're the one who's speaking.
Whose idea? It might
You
have
can
been
take credit for it.
Paul.
Yeah.
It wasn't mine. It
actually-
wasn't mine. I'll believe me, I'll take credit. But this was not me. I think it was either Paul or Sheldon. So it was either the writer or the creative director. And the idea was that like we want you to feel like you're Jackie. You are this guy. And so a lot of super quote unquote superheroes, even though Jackie's not a superhero. But a lot of these, comic-based games are third-person because you're watching an adventure that you're controlling. We don't want you to watch the adventure you're controlling. We want you to be a guy on an adventure. So going into first-person, you are that guy. You are Jackie. So anything that could kind of get you more into Jackie, like not pulling the camera out of first-person and the controller rumble.
Yeah, I think that's kind of important. I mean, the first game did that too, right? Like, the first-person kiss that you could do in that game was like such a moment that people still talk about, because it was like a game that, you're right, didn't take you out of it, let you kiss your girlfriend, let you hug your girlfriend, all in first person, which is kind of bizarre.
Yeah, well, we went a little stricter even than the first game. In the first game, when you would do a dialogue with another character, you'd get that camera over the shoulder thing, and it would pan back and forth, so you would see Jackie. It actually became a problem for us at one point in time, because we're like, hey, we have this awesome model of Jackie, and you never see him. So we put a bunch of mirrors.
Yeah, I noticed that.
You can run in front of a mirror and be like, this is what I look like, and then go out and kill more stuff in first person.
Andrew is wondering, is there a chance to respawn if you bleed out?
I believe so, yes. I think
I'm actually not sure because I never fail.
Wow,
There
you
you
guys
go.
are really good.
Yeah.
Impressive.
And nice.
For Scotland, yeah.
Yeah, and you'll hear The Darkness, a.k.a. Mike Patton, talking to you in Vendettas as well, because he's, like, all of the weapons that these guys have are imbued with some essence from the Darkness. And so he's sort of present. It is sort of present in this
Yeah, anywhere there's
narrative as well.
kind of the thing I always got from the Darkness is that anywhere there's evil, is the darkness. like the darkness is evil,
Yes.
and there is evil in things. People that are evil have a little bit of darkness in them. It's just that Jackie has like the darkness. I mean, he has like the
Yes.
core of it.
Capital
is
T,
within-
capital D.
Yeah.
Well, that's one of the things that somebody's a jumper.
That's ways to
Hopping
communicate even when
up
you're not talking.
and down. Yeah, come over here. But dark essence is sort of the side effect of an evil deed, and that's we've been calling it experience from time to time in this. But the narrative thing that it is dark essence. Like there's some amount of darkness power that comes from axing somebody in the heart or decapitating them with a demon arm, and what Jackie learns between the first game and the second was how to harness that dark essence. And that's why we've got a progression mechanic in this one, is that he can harness the evil side effects of his evil deeds and use those to make himself more powerful.
Richard is wondering if there are any vehicle missions in the game.
I mean, I could answer it. It's not that I mean, if you
Well,
you're
it
okay with
depends
me
on
answering
how
it.
it depends on what you call a vehicle mission.
Nothing that I would traditionally define as a vehicle.
Okay, that's true. Nothing that can be traditionally defined as a vehicle mission. I'll support that as an answer.
And if that's something you like, well, okay. But in
wish
general,
Jackie
I've
could drive a
experienced
car.
I've experienced plenty of shooters where vehicle missions have made it much, much worse. See original Gears of War.
Well, it's
I just can't picture a good way of doing like the whole crux of the game, right? Is
You could be quad driving.
exactly that's the whole thing.
Yes, yes.
The crux of the game is the fact that you're Jackie wielding these demon powers and being this awesome monster. So if you were driving, all of a sudden, how would you be a monster?
don't know.
demon arms through the sunroof,
Yeah.
and they could. Yeah, it's
Write this down. It's good.
Darkness 2 Kart Racer is coming out in 2013.
Yes, throw a banana peel. No, it just we did a lot of following kind of what we thought would be cool, and that's where a lot of the inspiration for each level came through. Is like, oh, this would be a neat thing to do for the way that we can tell this story. Car missions never really. Vehicle
Yeah.
missions never really.
Plus,
interesting.
Plus, Jackie doesn't drive.
He's driven.
He's the Don. He
has
is
drivers,
driven. Yes.
yeah. Dan is wondering how many different execution moves are there in the single-player campaign?
12.
Oh.
Right?
I don't know.
Because
I
there's
just
4 different types of executions that you can do. You can do the health executions that give you health back. Hitman executions give you ammo back. They use the power of the darkness to create some ammunition from nothing when the death of a dude. And then there's you have ones that give you a demonic shield, and ones that cooldown reduction, I think, is the 4th. And then there's, for each one of those types of execution, you can either grab the guy on the throat, the chest, or the legs. So 3x4 is how many executions for single player. And then you have executions for Vendettas as well.
they vary enough that in single player, at least you don't see the same one all the time. It's definitely not.
If you're totally set on one type of execution, like all you care about
Is health.
ammo,
Yeah, or
or
ammo.
all you care about is health, then you'll see the same 3. But it doesn't. I don't know. That felt varied.
Yeah. Plus, it feels varied enough because me personally, I didn't execute every guy. I would impale some guys, execute another. So they were generally spaced out enough that it wasn't like every guy was seeing the exact same thing.
Right.
Got a few minutes left in our Darkness 2 live stream here. Enough time to start another mission, enough time to get any last-minute questions in. Tweet them at IGN with hashtag Darkness2. Let's see, Paul is wondering, are there collectibles in the Vengeance campaign? I think he means Vendettas.
Yeah.
Vendettas, yeah.
Yes. So I think we saw 1 relic.
Yeah,
that
I
we
think
ran by.
there are 3 relics or something in the Vendettas campaign, and then there's something like 15 or more.
Yeah, we've got 30 relics total, so you can collect them across single player and Vendettas. It's definitely they're not always on the beaten path. So sometimes it's that gives you incentive to go back and replay either New Game Plus or play another Vendettas mission again to get them all. But there's there's those as collectibles, and they're also part of the story. So in like a non-required reading sort of a way. Like if you think this universe is cool and you want to learn more about kind of how the darkness works and the history of the darkness, you can go have Johnny Powell, who was just on the screen, explain what all these relics are that you found, and he'll give you the VO of the relics, and it's pretty neat. I think we've got some up on our community site now, the Darkness 2 community site, so you can hear Johnny Powell explain some
During the
relics.
loading screen, it actually told us there are 6 unique relics
Oh, there you go.
in the Vendettas campaign. So yeah, thank you, loading screen.
Helpful.
Josh is wondering, are there decisions or dialogue choices you make in the game that alter outcomes or options later on?
Look who's wandered in
Yes.
gentle lad.
Yes. Yes.
Though, I mean, there is that, but I mean, you know, it alters it, not necessarily. I feel like it's true, but the campaign is very much a story to tell.
Yes.
You're going to get the story that is there, and that's
It's
not a bad.
It's not a role-playing game.
Yeah, it's not.
Yeah, it's not a branching
You are
story.
playing as Jackie Estacado, and you want to know his story. Like that's why you play the Darkness.
Yeah, but there are decisions that you'll make that will have effects on the world. But it's not like there's a good ending and a bad ending.
Yeah.
There's just Jackie's ending. There's the narrative path.
Austin Eller says, wait, isn't Jackie invincible? How does he die? And we were talking about that earlier. He doesn't ever really die.
You can certainly riddle him full of bullets and then slice his body up, but then the darkness will come back and just put him back together.
So that takes time. So that's kind of, like that's when you get downed, it's kind of assuming that if the darkness is taking the time to put you back together.
Carl asks, will you encounter other people with darkness-imbued weapons in the single or co-op story?
In the single
player,
weapons. Yes, you will. The Brotherhood knows how the darkness works, and they will use that knowledge against you.
Yeah, you'll encounter one enemy later on in particular you might even see him while we're playing. We saw him earlier. He has a whip, and he uses that whip to yank your primary weapon out of your hand. That is...
Or whatever the hell you're carrying.
Exactly. That can be very painful at just the right moment.
Well, if you get, if you're running around the single player campaign and you've got your, your dual UMPs that you like, and a light guy and a whip guy show up, and one of them takes your weapons away, and then your demon arms are gone because of the light guy, it's suddenly a catastrophe.
Yeah.
And you have to really kind of figure out how you fight your way through that. We kept Jackie's power really high and then kept growing him up to become more and more powerful, and so we had to make the enemies powerful. And so the way that they are powerful is that they know how the darkness works. So I mean, it's not a darkness-infused weapon, but the light cannon is
Anti-darkness weapon.
weapon, which is a pain.
Yeah, I would say that is one of the more brutal weapons. Just the fact that you lose your ability to recharge health. Because you'll see in the bottom left you have 4 health bars. And when any one of them, you get to, like whatever one you got left off in, it'll recharge up to that point, but it won't recharge all the way. So you have to get hearts to get each of the 4 spots back.
Yep. Little Jimmy.
Anthony, Zach wants to know, what is your favorite thing about the game?
Honestly, I mean, it's the story. Like the Darkness games from the very first one, that was a game I had picked up on a whim and didn't know anything about it, and then was totally taken by the story. So when the second one came out, I was really worried, different developer working on it, were they going to be able to get the story? And I played this one, and I did enjoy the story still. So I think that this is definitely a very story-driven game. Like that's why it's it's hard, right? We can only show so much of the game to you guys right now, but it's because so much of the reason you should play this is stuff that we don't want to spoil for you.
So we did just show 2 dudes get sucked into the black hole after they got hacked. And that was fun.
Seth, you're much closer to the game, but do you have one favorite aspect of it?
I'm definitely in my home life a big nerd gamer, and after the kind of the final crunch that we had on this game, I went out and said, like, I'm going to buy everything that I didn't play while we were in crunch, and got a bunch of shooters. And in every one, I was like, where's my goddamn demon arms? I really want to be able to slash this guy. Like, I missed the quad wielding. The quad wielding actually has me playing this game differently than I play anything else that's an FPS. And The demon arms are they're really cool, they're really fun, and that's sort of the gameplay thing which I miss when I'm in other games and love when I'm playing this one.
Our final copy of the game will go to Eric Shade, who asks, who is the character in the trailer that is carrying a lantern?
That I need a hint for that
Oh, I know.
picture.
I know who he means. The guy that wants, that's hunting down.
With the dismembered looking crippled burnt
Yes,
face?
yes.
Yeah.
Victor. Victor is the head of the current head of the Brotherhood. And the Brotherhood are trying to get the darkness away from Jackie. Like, they know how to steal it from Jackie. And that's part of the core story crux of the single player campaign is that, Jackie's under attack by these guys who know how the darkness works. And Victor is their leader. And will be, attacking you with everything that he and they have.
Yeah, obviously Victor sends out his minions, but he's a bad guy. So you'll encounter him in regular ways.
He looks
throughout the
crippled,
story.
but he's badass.
Yeah, I mean the fact of the matter is all these guys have darkness powers, which obviously makes them a little bit more than a normal human being, and as far as their capabilities go.
But if you look closely in the demo or in some of our trailers, you can already see what at least one of Victor's powers is. Gotta look close though. I was worried it was too much of a spoiler, but then a lot of people didn't know. Anybody else?
Miguel says, Jackie seems to have a certain reluctance to use the darkness, but it's a necessary evil. Is this reluctance key to the story?
Absolutely. I mean, in the first
kind
one,
of
you again, spoiler alert for the first game if you haven't played it, but the darkness made Jackie watch his girlfriend murdered in front of him, held him back. Oh, there go the fish again. Sorry. So it's not like they're buddies. The conflict the conflict with Jackie and the darkness over control is that's a key part of the story.
Yeah, I mean the whole point is that this is 2 years later, and Jackie for 2 years has kept it under wraps because he doesn't like it.
Yep.
So it coming out, he only does reluctantly because he's going to die, and if he does not bring it out, I guess he wouldn't be able to necessarily die, but he does it because not only does he want to die, Jackie is also a very revenge-driven man.
Yeah, and it's time. Yeah, it's somebody shot one of the twins. Go after it. It's not just a tool that he gets to use or a weapon that he gets to use. It's a sentient being that is thousands of years older than Jackie. So there's always going to be a conflict between the two of them.
The Nudge asks, is there a kryptonite for the darkness or a polar opposite power?
The light.
Yeah,
We're in it. Not as bad on the Vendettas guys as it is on Jackie, but put Jackie in the light, and he's in trouble.
I mean, in the beginning, the game, if you watch that previously on the darkness thing, I'm pretty sure it tells you that, just like many religious texts and sort of thing, in the beginning there's light and darkness, and so, there's obviously a counter for the darkness and all the evil that it is.
Dan Smith wants to know, is there an online path to play the multiplayer?
Online pass.
Oh,
So
no.
like in a lot of
Just-
EA's games, there's like an online pass to play the multiplayer component of the game.
Nope, come on in. Play. Easy enough.
Yeah, the download
Do
code you get
matchmaking.
for it is really for extra things. I wouldn't say it's you don't get denied any gameplay, like for the code that comes with a new copy of the game.
Yep.
Just a kind of a thank you.
Seth Trey has a suggestion for DLC.
Fire away.
Yeah, make it where you control a member of the Brotherhood and see their side of the story.
Ah. That could be very interesting.
It could be, but I mean, they don't have any that cool powers.
It would have to be it would have to be somebody really, not just one of these guys who's getting axed with a dark axe, but like some other character from the bad guy side. I mean, in a narrative where Oh, flashbang. This is why flashbangs are bad. But in a narrative where the protagonist is not a quote-unquote good guy, that moral ambiguity would make it really interesting to see the other side.
Aaron has a pretty straightforward question. To wrap everything up, Aaron wants to know, why should I buy this game?
You will never forget the story, because the story is fantastic. You will never forget the quad wielding. It may ruin other shooters for you, because you will want your video.
Sounds pretty good to me.
Timmy wants to know, will there be a Darkness game for the PlayStation Vita? If you cannot confirm, wink or blink 2 times, so I know you're saying yes.
I'm not on the camera, so I don't have to. It's no. We're tomorrow. We will be live with 360, PS3, and PC. So that is what we are discussing as we power through the rest of. See, they actually got pretty far in the campaign here with the Watch mission.
Yeah,
Trying
I
to
mean,
fight a
this
helicopter.
is through the majority of the campaign, but I will say that the people that are playing right now,
But they're damn fine players.
yeah, they've all been
own
playing this
interface.
game a
Like,
lot.
this is-
They've been mangling the campaigns themselves.
But
so.
good. Yeah. No. It's really what's kind of hard to read when you're just watching Vendettas is that it's really fun. Like, I know that's sort of a difficult to evaluate thing. Like, of course, everyone says that their video game is fun, but like the moment to moment shooter awesome from Vendettas is something that kind of came together sort of early, and then we could just keep polishing it. So, you know, there's you know, I've been talking about narrative a lot. There's definitely a narrative drive to it, so that it's not just about, you know, killing a dude. It's about why you're killing a dude. But the killing of a dude with your friends in Vendettas is really fun.
Well, that brings us to the end of our Darkness 2 live stream today.
Oh,
you guys.
perfect timing.
That was good. That's a very appropriate point to end things. Thank you all for tuning in. The Darkness 2 is out tomorrow. And
Our review will be up at 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time.
I'll be there. Thanks a lot for coming by, Seth.
Yeah,
Really
thanks
appreciate
for
it.
having
Thanks for sharing your Darkness expertise there, Anthony.
Always a pleasure.
And of course, for all of your Darkness needs, keep it locked right here at IGN.com, and we'll see you guys later.